Welcome to the webinar on leadership quality. How are you all today? I will be asking you questions and I would like you to please write it in the message box. The session for today is on leadership skills. I will be asking you questions. I would like you to respond on the message box so we can carry it forward. Now, what do you understand by the term leader? What comes to your mind when you talk about a leader? To be a role model to others. Okay, my dear friends, tell me one thing. Do you think that everybody and anybody can become a leader? Pratima says the one who guides the team and provides value-added inputs to the team. Right. DM Shah and Pratima says that everybody cannot be a leader. A person who has vision and goals and followers to help him achieve those goals. Great, good description, Syed. Okay, you're all on the right track. Not everybody can be a leader, but it's not impossible for those who don't have those attributes or those talents to become a leader. It's not impossible. If you want to be a leader, you can be a leader. Now, please tell me of one person whom you know. Let's say somebody who's recognized by people, who's a very good leader. Someone whom we all know, who's a very good leader. Modi, DM Shah. Great. Anybody else? Gandhiji, Nitin Shashidharan. Great. Anybody else? Kamaraj, TN former CM by Hari Prasad. Okay. Now, what did you find about these people that make you think that they are good leaders? I mean, just their qualities, nothing personal. DM Shah, you said Modi. Why do you think he's a good leader? He definitely is a good leader, but why? Listens to other people but have their own opinion by DM Shah. Simplicity, closeness to people. Long vision for country welfare. Great, Hari Prasad. They take charge and guide others. Very nice description, Ashwini. Yes, a leader needs to have a few qualities. Not everybody can become a leader. Definitely needs to have some attributes, some skills, some qualities. Now, shall we go ahead with the session? Now, can you look at the screen? What is leadership? What do you consider, in your opinion, is leadership? We will be looking at identifying the traits and skills of an effective leader. We will look at a few key leadership theories. We will examine the role, duties, and responsibilities of a team leader in the workplace. We will try to understand the limits of authority in a team leader role. We will develop a plan to develop your own leadership potential. Okay, what is leadership? Why is leadership important? Why do we need leaders? Can mankind not do without leaders? Are leaders born or are they bred? Now look at leadership here. You have an image in front of you which tells you about what a leader actually does. A leader makes decisions. A leader may not be impulsive. He thinks and then takes decisions. A leader needs to be creative. He has to have lots of things, thoughts, ideas in his mind. He has to keep creating thoughts. He has to keep creating ideas. A leader definitely has to be energetic. Can you think of a leader who's totally devoid of energy? Somebody who's always dull, doesn't have the craving to do anything. We cannot think of a leader like that. We need a leader who is full of energy. A leader definitely needs ambition. If you don't have ambition, you cannot become a leader. You need to keep looking at the next step and not be happy where you are. A leader is somebody who knows how to formulate the proper strategy. Strategy may differ from case to case, but he needs to be capable of planning strategies for different situations. A leader is somebody who accomplishes. He doesn't just speak. He puts into action what he wants to accomplish. A leader is somebody who can manage a team. A leader is somebody who motivates self and motivates others too. A leader has vision. He doesn't go about life aimlessly. He has a vision in front of him, and he manages to accomplish his vision. A leader is somebody who can accept challenges. He's not afraid of taking up any type of challenge which comes in his path. A leader is somebody who performs. Only when he performs, he can expect his team members to perform. Professor Warren Bennis said that leadership is a function of knowing yourself, having a vision that is well communicated, building trust among colleagues, and taking effective action to realize your own leadership potential. Is this clear with everybody? Do you understand what Professor Warren Bennis is trying to convey? We read it again. Leadership is a function of knowing yourself, of trusting yourself, of loving yourself. A leader has a vision that is well communicated to his team members. A leader builds trust among the colleagues and takes effective action to realize the leadership potential. I hope what Professor Warren Bennis said made sense to you, and I'm sure you'll agree with it. Leadership skills means taking initiative. You never know when, round the corner, you have a problem which comes up. A leader is the first person who will say, I will handle it. He's the first person who takes the initiative. He takes ownership. It's absolutely mandatory that a leader is good in communications. A leader exhibits positive body language. A leader is approachable. A leader is somebody who excludes good personality. A leader is somebody who commands respect and doesn't demand respect. Now, let's look at a few things. We spoke about taking initiative. Taking initiative is that the leader never goes back when he has to take ownership of a problem. A leader is the first one who will propose a solution. A leader should be somebody who's very good in communications. Now, what do you all understand by communications? Please tell me what you mean by communication. Anybody? What do you understand by the term communication? Need to be able to send out clear messages of what to do, when to do. DM Sham. Anybody else? What is expected of team members? Okay. Let us just understand what the term communication means. Please define communication. My dear friends, I'm waiting for an explanation or an answer from you. What do you understand by communications? Usage of a medium for understanding each other to be in the same ground. Well, that's a nice explanation, Hari Prasad. Expressing the thoughts to other person. That's amazing, Saranan. Anybody else? You're all on the right track. Providing the information in the right manner so that it is understood by the team. Great, Pratima. Conveying thoughts. Yes, Ashwini. Anybody else? Communication in itself is a total process. Communications is not just speaking. Communications is when you have some ideas, some information, some thoughts in your mind which you want to share with somebody else, and the medium that you choose to share your thoughts or the information, it could be written, it could be spoken, and the way the other person comprehends, understands, takes it to the brain, analyzes, and responds accordingly. The entire process is called communications. Syed, I agree with you that listening is very important. Now, we practice 3 types of listening. The first type would be passive listening. What is passive listening? In one ear, out the other ear. Passive listening is when whatever you hear goes in from one ear and goes out the other ear. So you're not concentrating, you're not interested. So just because you have ears, you are hearing. So that is passive listening. Now, selective listening is when you only listen to what makes you happy and the rest of it you ignore. For example, let's say that you want to take leave. Maybe you want to get away from the office an hour earlier, 2 hours earlier. You go to your manager and you tell your manager, I want to leave 2 hours early today. Your manager responds by saying, all right, you can go 2 hours early today, but tomorrow extend by 2 hours and make up for whatever you missed today. Now, when you're practicing selective listening, you will only hear the first part where the manager is saying, all right, you can go 2 hours early today. That's it. Now, you are being selective here. You only hear what the manager is saying which pleases you. The rest of it, you're totally ignoring. That is selective listening. The third type is active listening, where we pay total attention. We are totally concentrating. We hear whatever we hear. It goes to the brain. We analyze it, and we respond accordingly. Okay, my dear friends, please tell me one thing. What do you think is the difference between hearing and listening? Could you please write it? Listening will go to the brain for processing further by Sarnan, right? What's the difference between hearing and listening? Anybody else? Hearing is what the ear does. Listening is what enters your brains and provokes thoughts. Pratima, right? Listening, we have to respect the speaker and interact by Hari Prasad. Okay? What enters into your brains and provokes thoughts by Pratima, alright? Okay, my dear friends, you're all on the right track. But tell me, what is the difference between hearing and listening? Hearing is because you have ears. You're hearing something particular, some sound, some noise. But hearing is not where you pay total attention or where you concentrate. You're hearing only because you've got ears. Let's say that there's some drilling sound going on. There's somebody, a baby crying, car horn, whatever. But later if somebody asks you, what did you hear? You may not be able to recall it. At the same time, when you're listening, you're paying full attention, you're concentrating, and everything that you hear goes to your brain, you analyze, you understand. It's the same thing like seeing and watching. We see because we have eyes, but it doesn't necessarily register in your brain. Whatever you enter a room, there may be so many things in the room. You see it because you've got eyes. But later on, if somebody asks you, what did you see in the room? What all did you see? You may be able to recall a couple of things, but not everything. But when you're watching, you pay full attention. You take it to your brain. You understand what's happening. For example, you will never say that I'm going to see a movie. You will never say that I'm going to see a cricket match. You will say I'm going to watch a movie. I'm going to watch a cricket match. All right? Everybody's got it? Veera, I'm glad that you could join us and you can start hearing now. Okay, now everybody knows the difference between seeing and what? I'm waiting for your response, guys. Seeing and watching, hearing and listening. Great. Okay, shall we move on? We were speaking about communications. Communications can be of three types: verbal, vocal, and nonverbal. Now, verbal is what you actually say. What you're actually speaking is called verbal, which is only 7% of the entire communications. I'm now explaining a pie chart to you. I'm actually explaining the ratio. Verbal would be only 7% of our entire communications. And verbal is what you're actually speaking. Now, when we talk of vocal, vocal is 38%. Now, what comes under vocal? Under vocal, we have the following components. Number one, your tone. Your tone can be polite. Your tone can be rude. Your tone can be angry. Your tone can be sad. Your tone can be very professional. So your tone actually indicates a lot of things about you. The second would be volume. We should neither speak very loudly, nor should we speak very low. If you speak very loudly, it gets irritating to the person who is actually listening to you. When you speak very low, people cannot understand what you're trying to say. So we need to maintain a moderate volume. But here, remember one thing, guys. It also depends on who all is there in the room with you. It depends on the situation and the scenario where you may need to change your volume accordingly. If there's a room full of 30, 40 people, you need to speak louder. If there's a place where there's one or two people talking to you, you don't need to speak so loud. So it's up to you how you manage your volume. We spoke about tone. We spoke about volume. Now let's speak about rate of speech. We Indians, our rate of speech on an average is between 120 to 150 words per minute. If you speak much below 120, let's say your rate of speech is 80, 90, 70, you're so slow, people will not have the interest to talk to you. On the other hand, if your rate of speech is far above 150, let's say it's 180, 190, 200, you will be so fast that again, you will not make sense to the person who's listening to you. Okay, my dear friends, how do you determine the rate of speech? Please check your rate of speech. And if possible, if we meet again in the future, you can tell me about it. Maybe at a future, some session or the other. Now, how are you going to monitor your rate of speech? If you have a clock or on the mobile, time 1 minute. Put the alarm for 1 minute. Pick up a magazine or a book, but never a newspaper. Newspapers have columns, so they will not give you the right picture. So either a book or a magazine would be fine. Start reading loudly, exactly like the way you speak normally. The moment the alarm rings, after a minute, after 60 seconds, stop reading. Then count the number of words that you have actually read. That is your rate of speech. Now, let's talk about intonation. What is intonation? Does anybody understand over here what intonation is? Intonation is nothing but stress. There are some people in the world who put a lot of stress when they talk. But we Indians normally don't put too much of stress. Stress is put, especially by Americans and other nationals, when they on the most important part of the word of the sentence. Let's say, for example, a simple sentence like "I'm hungry." We would just say "I'm hungry." The foreigner would say "I'm hungry." So the most important part of the sentence is hungry. So there the stress goes up. So this is all to do with intonation. Now let's talk about modulation. What is modulation? Modulation is nothing but putting emotions into your speech. For example, if I were to say, "I'm sorry," and suppose I say, "I'm sorry," and just walk off. Do you think I really meant it when I said I'm sorry? The way I said I'm sorry, you would not believe it. You would think that I'm just saying it. Because I have to say it. At the same time, the same words, you can say, "I'm so sorry." And that anybody would believe that you're actually sorry and you mean it. Now, for example, if I have to say thank you. If I were to say thank you, definitely you would not believe it. You would think that I'm just saying it because I'm being formal or something. At the same time, if I put modulation into it, if I put emotions into it, and I say "I'm so sorry," don't you think that's more convincing? All right. Now, we were looking at the ratio. So we said 7% is verbal, what you say. 38% vocal, your voice. We discussed the tone, we discussed the intonation, we discussed the modulation, we discussed the rate of speech. One thing that we missed out is pitch. Remember, my friends, Pitch is nothing but how shrill your voice is when you talk. And remember, we need to maintain a low pitch and not a high pitch. The moment you talk with a high pitch, you're really going to irritate people and they're just going to walk away from you. Now, what is pitch? It's being shrill. I have a lady who stays in the colony that I live, who speaks with a very high pitch. And in fact, I've named her the alarm clock of my colony because every day morning at 5 o'clock, she starts shouting. You don't have to look at the watch, you know it's 5. Bang, 5. She will either shout at the milkman, the watchman, the maid, and if she doesn't find anybody else, her poor husband, who's such a sweet guy. They're about 85 to 87 years old. And the way she shouts, I mean, if I'm going to imitate and show you, I think all of you will be closing your ears. Anyway, let's take a risk and see whether you'll be closing your ears or running away from the room. But guys, it's just for a couple of seconds, so please bear with me. She goes, yang, 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 yang. So that is what is high pitch, which is absolutely intolerable. In fact, I'm sure the eardrums must be doing the salsa when it hears. Okay, now let's come to the third component of communications. That is body language. Now this component is 55% of your entire communications. You can understand now how important body language is today. You don't need to say anything at all. You don't need to speak a word. But people can judge you just looking at your body language. So it's very, very important to exhibit positive body language. Now, I can only give you a limited version of body language because of the fact that you can't see me and I can't really exhibit it to you. But I'll try my best to take you through body language. Please, guys, remember, even if you know what is positive body language, and even if it is all in your mind, it's absolutely of no use if you don't start implementing it today. If you don't start implementing it now, you start implementing it, it'll become a habit for you. And trust me, positive body language goes a long way, whether it's your personal life or whether it's your professional life. All right, do we start? Okay, let's go ahead. Let's assume that you are in a room, you are in the front of a room, facing an audience of 20, 30, 40 people. Now, the first thing that has to be observed is your shoulders should be straight. You should not be slouching. You should not be leaning to one side. You should not be reclining on the chair. Your shoulders should always be straight, whether you're walking, whether you're sitting, or whatever, or you're just standing. Shoulders should always be straight. Now, your chin should be in the middle. If your chin goes down, that means you lack confidence. If your chin goes up, that means you're overconfident. So make sure that your chin is always in the middle. Shoulders straight, chin in the middle, good eye contact. We will discuss about eye contact a little later. People generally, when they come in front of a room and they have to address the audience, they are possibly nervous, or it may be possible that it's a habit, but normally what people do is they link hands. The fingers of one hand entwined with the fingers of another hand, link hands, or they hold both their hands together. It is negative body language. The girls have a habit of playing around with the ID card, which is hung around the neck, or playing with their watch, or with their ring, or with a bangle, or with a dupatta. Again, negative body language. Many of us, consciously or unconsciously, we fold our hands when we are sitting or when we are standing. We keep both hands folded. Negative body language. Now, I'm sure you guys must be wondering, what do you do with your hands? If you can't link it, if you can't hold it, if you can't, fold your hands, what do you do with your hands? Simple. Just leave both your hands alone. You don't have to keep using your hands. Just leave both the hands alone. Make sure the two hands are not touching. When you're stressing, when you're emphasizing about something, then what you do with your hands is you use your hands for stressing and emphasizing about what you're talking about. But the two hands should not touch. Now, we have a habit of pointing one finger at a person whenever we need to talk to him, or whenever, there's any one person, we point our finger, which is the index finger. That's considered very, very rude. You never point your finger at anybody. You can just stretch out your hand and show the palm. You stretch out your hand, all your fingers are together. 5 fingers are together. And then you tell somebody, could you please tell me? Could you please help me? But you never point your index finger at anybody. That's considered totally rude. Guys, when we are in front of a class, in a room, and we're addressing somebody, you do not have to stand still like a statue. You can always move around the room. If you're walking from the front of the room to the back of a room, please remember one thing. You want to go back to the front of the room, please do not turn and show your back to the audience. Go back like the way you walked to the back of the room. I don't know if you're clear about what I'm saying. When you're walking towards the audience from the front of the room to the back of the room, and you want to go back to the front of the room, please do not turn and show your back. Just keep walking exactly like the way you walk from the front to the back. So walk back like that only, facing the audience. Okay. Now, what do we use our head for? Think about it. Before that, there's something called space proximity. What is space proximity? Whenever we need to walk across to one of our colleagues, our friends, or anybody, you want to pick up something from the table, something which is lying on his table, and you want to pick it up. Whether it's a male or a female, it's absolutely irrespective of the gender. You should not go very close to anybody. Stand at a distance and ask that person, could you please give me a pen? Could you please give me a book? Instead of leaning on that person, going very close, irrespective of the gender, you don't do that. You make that person uncomfortable. So space proximity means maintaining a little bit of distance. Now we come back to our body. From head to toe, we do exhibit different body language. What is the head mainly used for? Guys, I'm waiting. Could you please write? What is the head mainly used for? To nod. Yes, Hari Prasad. Anybody else? We use the head to accept, deny, to repeat once again, alright? Okay, mainly there are 3 purposes. Okay, 3 things that we use the head for. Number 1, to say yes. So we nod. Number two, to say no. So we shake our head. Guys, but it's very funny that in countries like Sri Lanka and Bulgaria, when they nod means no. When they shake their head means yes. However, let's not bother about that. Etiquette, body language etiquette says that to say yes, you nod. To say no, you shake your head. So we are right over there. The third thing that the head does is when you're listening very attentively to somebody who's very interesting, speaking about something which really interests you, you tilt your head slightly to one side. It's not done deliberately. It's just a subconscious habit or an unconscious habit. Now, let's come to the eyebrows. Eyebrows are generally raised when there's surprise. Yes? Do you agree with me? Yes, that's right. Surprise. Saranan. Alright. Eyebrows are also used for something else. Anything? Anybody? Sarcasm. That's right, Hariprasad. Concentrating is also right. We also raise our eyebrows when we're irritated. We don't raise them actually. We sort of knit our eyebrows when we're irritated. Raising eyebrows is surprise. Knitting both the eyebrows so that both the eyebrows come together in the middle is when you're frowning, you're irritated. Right? Okay, cool guys, you're all rocking. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them at the end of the session. Okay. We were speaking about eyebrows. Now let's speak about the eyes. Could you tell me where we use eyes? Why do we use, what can you see in the eyes? Insight, thoughts, honesty, yes. Concentrating. You can see all the emotions in the eyes. You can see sadness, you can see happiness, you can see love, you can see hatred. All the emotions are, they say that the eyes are the soul, mirrors to the soul. And that's a very, very right thing to say. Eyes are indeed the mirrors to the soul. They show you everything which is inside. Some people are very smart. They will not let their emotions show very openly. However, normally if you see, eyes are the mirrors of the soul. Okay, now let's get back. After the eyes, you have the nose. What do you use the nose for? When you're smelling? When some people use their nose even when they're like, irritated or pressurized or something. Then we come to the mouth. What do we use the mouth for, guys? You use your mouth to smile. Yes. That's right, Saranan. But we don't use it for shouting because shouting will not come under body language. But definitely smiling, laughing. Now sometimes, to irritate, yes, Hariprasad, you're right. Sometimes what happens is, when somebody is feeling in a very sarcastic mood, one corner of the mouth lifts and they say something nasty. Now, chewing, chewing is not body language. But anyway, the other thing that we use our mouth for is when you're very irritated and your mouth goes like in a straight line. Irritation. Okay, we spoke about hands. The motions, what we understand by, linking hands, etc., etc. Now we come to, generally people say in some parts of the world, people do not like, especially the females, to sit cross-legged. Frankly, I don't find anything wrong with it, to sit cross-legged. Anyway, one very important aspect of eye contact, one very important aspect of body language is eye contact. What do you understand by eye contact? Anybody? What is eye contact? My dear friends, I'm still waiting for your response. What is eye contact? Okay, eye contact is when you're talking to somebody. Yes, I think I have a response here. Yeah, Tangaraj says both persons' eyes should be aligned. And Hari Prasad says it shows the speaker respects to each other and keeps them engaged. Okay, cool. Now, eye contact is when you're speaking to a person, you look at that person in the eyes and speak. When people refuse to meet the eyes and speak, they are considered dishonest, untrustworthy. Somebody who will not look at you in the eyes and speak is considered untrustworthy. Now, what do you mean by eye contact? Which is the area that you need to concentrate on when you're maintaining eye contact? Just above the eyebrows. 2. It starts off just above your eyebrows to your nose. Somebody who looks at people much higher than the forehead is not considered good. Somebody who looks at another person below the nose, again, is not considered decent. So you will only look at that particular area, which is from your eyebrows onto your nose, okay, which covers both the eyes. Okay, guys, how do you maintain eye contact in a room where there are so many people sitting? Suppose there are 20 people, 30 people, 40 people, whatever. How do you maintain eye contact? You cannot keep looking at each person singly, right? You cannot. What you do is random, keep looking at one direction, then look in the front, then look in the middle, then look at the other opposite direction, then look at the back again. So it has to be random. When you are having a one-to-one conversation, you must make sure that you meet the eyes of the person that you're talking, the space where I told you. And if you're talking 40 minutes, 50 minutes to the same person, you cannot keep staring at the person. You'll make him very uncomfortable. So when that person starts speaking, you can look at the ground, but not at the walls, not at the ceiling. You'll give him an impression that you're bored. So look at the ground, and the moment you start speaking again, then you can look at him at the eyes. Now, handshake etiquette, which is part of body language. Etiquette says a handshake should never last more than 5 seconds. You can maybe shake hands for 4 seconds, 3 seconds, but not more than 5 seconds. When you shake hands, you do not hold the fingers. The web of the hand should meet the web of the other person's hand. Never hold the fingers. When you shake hands with somebody, make sure you maintain eye contact and make sure you have a nice smile on your face. And you need to say something like, hi, how are you? Good to meet you. And somebody who shakes hands with a lot of pressure, too much pressure, it's more like that person is a dominating person. And at the same time, somebody who shakes the hand very loose, it's called a dead fish handshake. And normally people do not trust a person who extends a dead fish handshake. All right, guys. Now that's all about body language. Approachable. A leader needs to be approachable. What do you mean by approachable? Approachable is when a person, a leader, he's always there for you. Whatever problems you have, he's there to solve it. Even if he can't solve it, he's there to give you advice and suggestions. He'll never turn you away and say, go away, I'm busy. He's somebody who's always there to help you. A leader should have a good personality. Otherwise, nobody's going to respect him. The way he dresses. Guys, what do you understand by the word personality? Let's put all these things together and make it a combo package. The way a person dresses, his clothing, he wears what suits him. How does he maintain his hygiene? He's clean. He cuts his hair. He shaves every day. His attitude, the way he talks, the way his body language tells you whether it's positive or negative, his behavior, everything put together. How a person carries himself or herself is very, very important. So all these things put together, his behavior, his dressing, the way he walks, his body language, everything put together is personality. And of course, attitude is a very important part of it. A leader will never demand respect. A leader will always command respect. Okay, a leader will always have good knowledge about the product. In other words, a leader will always have good domain knowledge. A leader will always motivate himself and motivate his team. Anytime a member performs well, anytime somebody does something very good, maybe an appreciation email, maybe he's done some task was given to him, he's done it very good, the leader will always go and tap him on his shoulder and say, great, you've done wonderful work. All the best. You'll do even continue like this. So he motivates that team member. And motivation is very, very important, very necessary. The leader will always practice assertive communications. What is assertive communications, guys? We have 3 types of communication. Submissive communication. A person is very submissive or passive. Somebody who will not make up his own mind. Somebody who cannot take initiative. Somebody who allows himself to be dominated by others. He's got no brain of his own. Is somebody who's very passive or submissive. On the other hand, we have people who are aggressive. People who are aggressive, they're very dominating. They always want to make the decision. They will not listen to anybody else. They think they are the best. They think they are always right. So in life, we should never be submissive or aggressive. A leader will always practice assertive communication. Now, what is assertive communication? It's being polite but firm. Firm in his decision. Firm in everything he does. He will not allow anybody to dominate him. At the same time, he'll be very polite. Interpersonal skills should be good for the leader. What are interpersonal skills? The way he gets along with everybody. With his team members, with his seniors, anybody. With the clients. He's always a good mentor. He's like a coach. He always helps you when you need help. He will also always teach you when he thinks that you need teaching. He's always open for changes. He will listen to everybody's suggestions. He's open to changes. He gives you feedback and he does your appraisal. Feedback should be given in a very subtle manner, in a very diplomatic manner. He does your appraisal too. Now, great man theory says that leaders are exceptional people born with innate qualities destined to lead. Okay, then we have a trait theory which says research on traits or qualities associated with leadership are numerous. Traits are hard to measure. For example, how do you actually measure honesty? How do you measure integrity? It's very hard to measure.